Welcome to the Fishbowl Radio, everybody. My name is Chief here, and joining me today is Juicy. We are doing our 2024 LSU versus UCLA preview. Without further ado, let me introduce everybody to my co-host here tonight. Juicy, how you doing today, Juicy?
Oh, I'm good. What up?
Doing very well over here. So we got a good bit to talk about here. So let's go through some stats here real quick, Juicy, about how LSU has performed so far this year within their offense and rushing statistics and passing statistics. That way people can kind of get an idea of how good this year. They keep everybody up to going on with LSU. So points per game, LSU is ranked 54th in the yards a game, 41st. Points/play, they got .406, which is 55th. 6.1 yards a play, 42nd. Third down conversion rating is 40.74% at 53rd in the country. Fourth down conversions at 33.33% at 99th. Red zone scoring 105. That's 72.73%. So, from the offensive perspective with those numbers, what do those numbers tell you, Juicy?
That the offense has to work overtime just to stay in the game. That the defense, that's not very pretty stats, but they have managed to win the last two games, especially one against Nichols, but they were lucky against South Carolina, really. But
Yeah, back to that.
Definitely got some improvements to do.
Yeah, back to that South Carolina game. What were some thoughts that you had when you were watching that game?
Well, I mean, I like how they battled back, especially in being on the road in the SEC. I like how they battled back, being down 17-0. Especially how bad LSU really played. You know, the defense, the dual threat quarterback, the running game still has its holes in it for sure. But they really solidified a lot better in the second half, and after they were down 17-0, they ended up outscoring South Carolina 36-16 the rest of the way out. So they had kind of solidified a little bit, but they dug themselves in a pretty big hole to start.
Yeah, it looked like LSU kind of found their running back and toward the second half of that game there. And Garrett Nussmeier was doing a good job. It's just that LSU's defense was kind of flat-footed for parts of it, but they did make some big plays in there, which helped them get the win there at the end of the day. I mean, you can't really complain too much about it there. So, I mean, as we're continuing to look at this thing here, so the top 25 is kind of the B their goal ahead of, but they got to start trying to figure out to beat this UCLA team. So that is one thing they're going to have to do in this upcoming matchup here. So when they take them on at 3:30 at home. So it's not going to be like a night game in Death Valley. So that's something we're going to have to look at and kind of be interested to see how that all goes out to be there. So what you thought about the LSU, Juicy? But the running game.
That's really what helped them to get back into the game and really help establish the rhythm too. Was Cade Durham, the freshman running back, really showed out. He might earn some more reps, but being able to run the ball, I think, really helped them to climb back into that game and help to balance out the offense, help everything kind of get into a rhythm.
Yeah, Cade Durham. I'm trying to see how many touchdowns he had. Two rushing touchdowns in that game there, and they finally found Kyron Lacey kind of toward the end of the second quarter there.
LSU had no rushing touchdowns as a team going into that game.
Yeah. What you thought about the referee situation? I've seen a lot of South Carolina fans on social media kind of complaining about the whole officiated game. I thought there was bad calls on both sides of the game. There was a block punt that
Mhm.
South Carolina did that was illegal. They definitely jumped over the guy there, and that should have been called there. Brian Kelly was very obviously frustrated with the officials about that call. What you thought about the officiating in that game?
I mean, it was pretty sloppy on both sides. I mean, at the end of the day, one team or one fan base is always going to be like not happy or like feel like they got. I mean, it's really. But either way, I mean, it was pretty bad on both sides of the ball. But the blatant missed punt was obviously a missed call. Now they had two. Nuss had like two pick sixes that got called back. Fortunately for LSU, that could have really been a disaster for him too.
Yeah, this it seems like some of those plays could have been like flip flop either way. How it went there. So LSU got out there with a win. I mean, that's kind of like the good thing for them and able to go ahead with 2-1. These, like I said before, they have all their goals in front of them. If they can win their conference, they will be
They
in the
just got to
college football
start
playoff.
figuring out that defense.
The defense is going to take some figuring out. And they got a lot of fans already calling for Brian Kelly's head. So far, the defense, if you want rankings, which is what we were talking about here, opponents' points per game, they're giving up 30 points per game. They're 87th in the country. Opposing yards a game, 422.5, which is good for 96. Opponent's points per play, 0.469, which is good for 96. Opponent yards, 6.6 a play, 109th. Opposing third down conversion, 26. Opposing fourth down conversion, no one's ever converted fourth down against them, which makes them number one. Opponent red zone scoring, 87.5%, which is good for 68th. So, in that regard, there, if you look at those numbers, you see what you think can do. What can LSU do on defense to improve? I think that's the big question everyone wants to ask right now.
Well, what I'm thinking when you said like they're 68th in red zone scoring, uh, that's kind of a bigger stat than the rest of those ones because to me like that kind of sounds like a bend but don't break in a way because that's more like the middle. Well, like they're in the 90s and the hundreds and the other ones and that one they're in 68. So they kind of bend but don't break in a way, but it is frustrating. But that number, I'm not saying that's a great number by any means. That's a middle of the pack number based on like 130 schools. But it still needs some room for improvement. For sure, 68th is not a bragging rights by any means, but uh, the what can they improve on? If you to answer your question, the tackling for sure, because they had quite a few sloppy missed tackles out there. I can assure you that the tackling, the busted assignments, especially in the secondary. That's
Yeah,
what I
like
saw.
we've been talking about this since the first game. Like after the USC game, we mentioned tackling. Tackling has been the number one thing I think that's been the problem for this defense. Missed assignments can get corrected with good coaching. That can be, I think, but tackling is kind of something you learn in Pop Warner football. Like when you're really like young, kind of getting the group of things there. So, but looking at, um, I think I saw something here that was interesting here. Opponent field goal conversions against LSU's defense, 66.67%, which is a good rank for 40th. I want to see that. That's turnovers. LSU doesn't get penalized that much. It doesn't. Well, let's see. Offense is 9.5, but as far as defense, they're 9.5, but they're 11th. Opponent opposing penalties a game is that opponent. Never mind. So penalties for against the defense is not against the offense is 122nd in the country. So the offense shoots themselves in the foot a good bit. If you're ranked 122nd in the country, that's sloppy mental errors. A lot of that happens on the offensive line, which the offensive line for LSU has been what was touted as a deep running playoff team by the Baton Rouge media out there. They let every single LSU fan down. They came out there, ran their mouths about like this offensive line is gonna be great, and they're attending the practices. Like, I mean, you would think if you're attending these practices and you actually look at how this team is playing, if you have any kind of idea of like sports semblance in your mind going on there, because like some of these guys are former LSU players, okay? Are they just like straight up lying to their, listeners and fan base and stuff like that? Like, look, oh, the offensive line is going to be really good this year. Where are they at? They haven't been there the whole 3 games. You can't even say against Nichols they haven't even done anything. So every year they kind of do this same thing where they just kind of say, oh, LSU is
I
going to
mean, I'm
be.
not saying they. I mean, we're not saying that. I mean, it's not saying that they can't get better and get like more in groove and in rhythm as the season goes along. It's just right now, we just have to go off of what we see.
Yeah, I mean, like, Juicy, me and you are not out there every single practice. We see videos of it, but I mean, if someone is bad, like if your defense is bad and your offense is looking really good in practice, something ain't converting there. Um, and then they kind of be apologetic about it. They always like bumping the chest of LSU, but I mean, you got to look at it sometimes, dude. Like, I'm just disappointed in how they portrayed this team because I feel like they wasn't
I
completely
mean, the
genuine about
offensive
how they
line
actually felt
isn't.
about it.
I mean, the offensive line's not bad, not atrocious, but I mean, I wouldn't say they're great.
But that was the expectation coming in that they were going to have one of the best offensive lines in the country. That was a
But I mean,
lie.
they're not terrible, but I mean, they're not like
I'm not saying they're terrible,
outstanding.
but
Yeah, I'm
they
not
were
saying they're
touted as a top.
atrocious, but
They were touted as a top 10 offensive line unit in the country. That's elite level stuff right there. Whenever you make those claims that you have an elite level offensive line, that's not. I'm not pulling this out. Everybody heard that. Everywhere, national media
they
was
should
saying
be
that.
though.
The
They
Baton Rouge
should
media was
be.
saying that.
They should be top 10 elite because they got four veteran starters. The only new starter is the center. The rest of them are veterans.
I'm not saying they're a bad unit. I'm just saying that they're supposed to be this elite level dominating guys, and like some Nussmeier sometimes getting under pressure. They're committing mental penalties in these games, like false starts and stuff. You don't expect that from a veteran group like them guys. For you to have, I mean, like a lot of those penalties, if you look at them in the games, have come from that unit. That's what I'm trying to say. Sometimes the receivers are jumping offside. I've seen Kyron Lacey do that before. Don't know if it's against USC or Nichols. It was one of them. But anyway, it doesn't matter. Most of it is coming from the offensive line. Point blank there. So they're going to have to clean up the penalties to get ready for UCLA. If they don't, they're going to lose this football game. I mean, I think last week you picked South Carolina, Juicy. Did that
I
help you
did.
out any better, like confidence wise with this football team?
Well, the second half of the game, it kind of did. I'm a little bit since they proved me wrong. I'm more confident to pick them to beat UCLA than because they proved me wrong. That's what I wanted them to do. Not exactly how I planned on them doing it, but they did.
So this is Brian Kelly had some comments to say after the game, and this is what he had to say. We beat South Carolina on the road in a sold-out stadium in the SEC against a team that beat the pants off of Kentucky, who played number 2 Georgia right down to the end. Kelly said. So if we
He's
want to
he's
do
right.
that game, I guess we're going to beat Georgia by a lot. So I mean, obviously LSU doesn't have Georgia on their
I
schedule,
think he
so
was.
that's
I
kind
think
of.
he was. I think he was kind of joking though.
And so Ethan Gabers fumbled the ball away inside UCLA's 20-yard line. They ended up in a hole in that game here. So the coach came out, Foster, said that the Bruins must stop beating themselves. Let the game come to you, he added. Don't play out of character. So this is the Bruins' first game in Louisiana. So they're going to get introduced to the hot, humid weather in Louisiana.
And I'm more confident that they're actually playing in Tiger Stadium. So
I mean, the home crowd's going to get them excited. I don't feel good about this team. They may have found LSU definitely found their running back. They have definitely found their running back.
If they can get physical
And
like they
Cade
did,
Durham.
if the offensive line also took control of that, I think that's what we wanted too. They did take more control in the second half of that game with the running game. If they can have a performance like that the rest of the year and the whole season, the Saturday and then the rest of the year, I think we can expect better things out of them.
Well, after this game, they get South Alabama, who
It's actually pretty good in the Sun
yeah,
Belt.
they played tonight actually.
Yeah, they're beating the brakes off of
Yeah,
App
which I
State.
was shocked about. Honestly, I thought App State would have played better, but they ended up beating App State
I'm
tonight,
kind of
48 to
scared of South
14.
Alabama though.
So, like, look, they were very competitive last year in the Sun Belt. I mean, they looked like they were very close. Their record last year was not what they actually were. They're a better team than what their record. Whenever UL played them, they had a lot
Didn't
of
they just
turnovers.
beat
LSU, I
Northwestern
mean,
State?
UL won that game because of the turnovers. That
Didn't they
really
just
helped.
beat Northwestern State like 87-10 or
Yeah,
something?
they did. They did. They dropped 80 points. Yeah. So that'll be an interesting game to see. Um,
It's not something LSU can play sloppy on. I'm kind of scared it'd be like another a Troy
but
situation kind
for
of.
that game, LSU better be careful because if they get caught looking ahead to Ole Miss, they will probably lose this game to South Alabama if they ain't careful.
Yeah, it'll be like another Troy event.
You don't want to get caught looking ahead at anybody. The way this year's been going, it's been wild. So, Juicy, I'll let you pick, and then I'm gonna follow you up your pick. UCLA or LSU? Who you got Saturday in Death
I'm
Valley?
a I'm gonna be a little bit more. I'm a little bit more confident. I'm gonna go with LSU in this one. I think I want to give the benefit of the doubt. The offensive line gonna continue to run block better. You know, like they did against South Carolina. I like the fact that it's at home. It's gonna be kind of warm and humid. I'm expecting the weather to maybe affect UCLA a little bit. That they might get worn down a little bit quicker, a little bit easier, being hot. I'm gonna give the home territory. I'm gonna give LSU the win in this one.
So LSU's defense gave up 27 to USC. They gave up 21 to Nichols, and they gave up 33 to South Carolina.
But
LSU's won
UCLA
their
is
last
like
two
really
games.
bad though. They're like a dumpster fire.
So what I think's gonna happen is I I can't trust this LSU team. I've through 3 weeks, I feel like they keep cheating on me. You know, like a partner that keeps cheating on me, and my trust keeps getting broken. How many times do I keep going back and saying, yeah, like everything's gonna be all right? I I think LSU is the more talented team, and I will say that, but talent doesn't always get you wins. I think they might get out schemed in this game. I think UCLA might be able to set things up here to where if you look at the stats here, the West Coast teams are kicking the SEC's butt this year. There was like a graphic that has like Texas, Arizona, and like California, all the other states. Like at a certain point in Texas, they have a line drawn. And it's like, oh, they're like only lost like out of all the games they had, it was like 20 games played. They're like seen it 4 or some crazy stat like that. So look, that's a trend right now this year that I think we have to pay a lot of attention to, and we'd be lying if we didn't even mention it here. So, um, give me UCLA to beat LSU in Death Valley.
Really? After they got
That's what I'm
mopped,
going with.
by Indiana 42-13, I just can't feel real
Look,
confident that
look.
UCLA is gonna.
I don't think. I think UCLA doesn't turn the ball over that much in this game here, and LSU's opening as a 22.5 point favorite. Look, LSU's 88.1% chance to beat them here. If Garbers does not turn the ball over, he's got 3 interceptions on the year and only 1 touchdown. Okay, If they can formulate some kind of offensive attack at UCLA, I think they're going to beat LSU defense. Now, LSU defense isn't grand, so this is a good game for them to kind of probably step it up and actually make this work here. But I think LSU, they played sloppy. I don't think they've mastered it yet. I want them to put together a complete game here to kind of like prove me wrong here because I don't know if they quite got there yet.
And UCLA's only other win is Hawaii, who is also not really. I mean, that's not really something to brag about. I mean, I'm not trying to dog your pick or UCLA, but I'm very much less confident in picking them with the schedule they've played and the teams they've
Look,
played.
that's why they call it an upset.
Yeah,
We've seen 20 and 30 points. The
pick a
way
team to beat LSU that got mopped by Indiana last week.
we also thought LSU should be a top 10 team this year too.
They haven't really did anything yet to prove. I mean, technically, they haven't looked good, but they haven't well, they are. I guess I'm just saying technically, like Herm Edwards, they are what their record says they are.
All right. Well, I mean that's all I gotta say about it.
But hey, that's your upset pick. I mean, hey, we'll
That's my
see.
upset pick. I think LSU's looking ahead to Ole Miss, even though it's 2 weeks away. I think they're sleepwalking.
I think I'd be more confident. I think I'll be more confident in picking South Alabama to upset them next week.
All right, let's go through the top 25, Juicy. For our top 25 picks here, Texas, Archie Manning starting off playing against UOM. Who you got in that game?
Well, I guess they're giving Quinn Ewers a little more time to rest. I don't blame them. I mean, why rush them back when you're playing ULM? Might as well give them a extra week of rest. I'm gonna go with Texas.
I got Texas winning it. I think they'll be able to take care of business. Texas has looked really good this year. I think they're a national championship contender. I mean, I picked it for the Sun Belt preview game pick 'em, so I'm keeping my pick. If you watch the Raging Cajun one, you know how my pick's going to go for the Sun Belt teams here. Ohio State versus Marshall. I got Ohio State winning that one. Who you got, Juicy?
I got Ohio State.
Because Georgia's on a bye week this week. They take on Alabama next.
Ooh.
If you're wondering why we're skipping that over, Alabama's got a bye week as well. So Ole Miss taking on Georgia Southern. You know I picked Ole Miss in the Sun Belt preview show. Who you got, Juicy?
I'm gonna go with Ole Miss.
Tennessee at Oklahoma. This is kind of a big game here. A lot of people are excited about it. But I think Tennessee takes this one. What you thinking,
Yeah, I think
Juicy?
Oklahoma hasn't really looked like great this year. I'm gonna go with Tennessee. Honestly, I mean Oklahoma. Like I said, I don't find they've really looked like typical Oklahoma, even though they're 3-0. But I'm gonna go with Tennessee.
Taking on Vanderbilt at home. If this was a game of books, I feel like Vanderbilt would have a really good shot to beat Missouri. I would actually pick Vanderbilt to win that game, but this is a football game and not a debate squad thing or whatever. So give me Missouri. What you thinking, Juicy?
I got Missouri.
Miami, the U go on the road, take on at South Florida. I got Miami. What you thinking, Juicy?
Oh, ain't gonna be close. I got Miami.
Oregon's got a bye week, so we're skipping them. They're going to take on UCLA up next week. So Penn State, number 10, taking on Kent State. I got Penn State winning that one. What you got, Juicy?
Oh, Penn State.
Number 11, USC taking on number 18, Michigan here. I got, Michigan, I feel like they got embarrassed with Texas, able to rebound. Whew. So give me a USC. I think they'll be able to pull it off. Who you got, Juicy?
I got USC. Michigan's another team that hasn't looked really great this year. I got USC.
Utah, number 12, taking on number 14, Oklahoma State. This one's going to be an interesting one here because I think I'm going with Oklahoma State pulling this off. What you thinking, Juicy?
Yeah, give me the Cowboys.
Kansas State, number 13, taking on at BYU. I got Kansas State. What you thinking, Juicy?
No, yeah, give me Kansas State. Even though I think this is going to be a little closer than what people think.
Notre Dame at home against Miami, Ohio. I mean, if I was Notre Dame, I'm kind of scared because I got embarrassed by a team kind of like this, same peer. But give me Notre Dame. What you think of Juicy?
I got Notre Dame.
Louisville taking on Georgia Tech here. You know what? Give me Georgia Tech, man, over Louisville. That's my upset pick. What you thinking, Juicy?
You stole it because I was actually going to say the same thing. I was gonna pick Georgia Tech to pull the upset.
Yeah, I feel that one. Iowa State, number 20, taking on Arkansas State at home. I got Iowa State winning this one. What you thinking, Juicy?
Give me the Cyclones.
Number 21, Clemson taking on NC State here. I got Clemson winning this one. I know they haven't looked the best here so far this year, really and truly. But give me Clemson to beat NC State. What you thinking, Juicy?
I got Clemson as well.
Nebraska taking on Illinois.
Ooh, this is going to be another good one too.
Yeah, I'm excited. They're
Think
both
like
ranked
this:
22 and
Nebraska and
24.
Illinois are both ranked. That's
Yeah, I got the Big Red, man. I hope Nebraska. They're kind of going back. Are we going back into the 90s? We might be. Give me Nebraska.
I
What you
hope
think
so.
of
I'm
Juicy?
pulling hard for Nebraska, man. I hope they. I'm gonna pick them to win, but I'm pulling hard for them.
Number 23, Northern Illinois taking on Buffalo. Northern Illinois, I got them winning it. What you think of Juicy?
Same. Give me Northern Illinois.
Texas A&M taking on Bowling Green. I got A&M winning this one. What you think of Juicy?
Yeah, I got A&M.
All right. Pick the game episode here. Anything to break off there here?
No, I think that's it, man.
All right, there to this episode here at the Fishbowl Radio. Hope you have a great, wonderful night here. We're gonna hear next time here. We'll be talking Cajun football here next up on the show for next week here, and then we'll return with some LSU content. Recapping what happened against UCLA and previewing their matchup against the South Alabama Jaguars. So that'll be all for us here. Like us on Facebook and follow us there as well. Follow us on Twitter. Follow us on TikTok. Follow us on Instagram and subscribe to us. Subscribe to us on YouTube. We appreciate all your support, Fishbowl Nation. So hope you have a great, wonderful night. We'll see you here next time on the Fishbowl Radio. Have a good night, Fishbowl Nation.